Welcome back to another interesting tutorial. We are going to focus on making this balloon gathered gown and also how to make this sleeveless gown. So I'll be sharing with you some tips and tricks to turning your sleeveless gown or your sleeveless dress perfectly, and how to make this balloon gown. Of course, you need enough fabric for this effect. My fabric is Mikado. I am using 5 yards of Mikado fabric for this project. So if you actually want this dress to be very full, you need about 5 or 6 yards of fabric. So the length of Mikado comes at 60 inches. So I've already folded this Mikado fabric, I've folded and folded it, and the length is 60 inches. So I'm going to cut out the length I want right now. So the half length of this dress is 17 inches, and the down part of it, I'm going to take the full length of the dress, which is 42. I will take away 17 from it. So if I take away 17 from it, then I have 25 inches as the length. So for the lining, I'm going to take away 5 inches from the actual 25 inches. And for the men dress, I'll add, or the Mikado, I'll just add 5 inches. I believe you understand this calculation. So 20 and 30 are the lengths we are using for the fabric and the lining. So just watch, you understand the calculation. Next I'm working with is 31 inches. So I'm going to multiply it by 6. So you multiply your waist by 6. I have 186. I will divide it by 36 inches, which is a yard. So I'm working with 5 yards. So that is how I arrived at 5 yards. So you multiply your waist by 6, whatever you have, divide by 36. That will tell you how many yards you will use. So here I'm placing the fabric on fold because the actual length of Mikado is 60 inches. So if I cut half of it, it will give me just 30 inches, which is the length we just calculated right now for the men fabric. So I just want to take the measurement from the beginning to be sure I have my 30 inches length. I'll go ahead and mark my 30 inches length right now, so I'll be able to cut it out. So it actually depends on how long you want this dress to be. So 30 inches is just okay as calculated. Now I will set aside the 30 inches Mikado. Then we'll begin to draft the upper piece. For the upper piece, I'm taking the vertical measurements from the chest line, bust point, under bust, waist, and I counted 5 inches for the backs line. That is if you only want to put backs in the front of your dress. You add 5 inches to your waistline. To make a straight line, I just went ahead to mark my lines again. So I'm creating the vertical line, so we'll begin to draft. So actually this dress, I am making it in my own style. I mean the upper part of this dress. The main purpose of this tutorial is the down part of this dress. So you can make anything for the upper part. So if you want to follow me for the upper part, let's go. So I'm just creating the armhole right now. Of course, you know how to go about it. On your chest line, you are going to impute your bust circumference, divide by 4, and complete your armhole. So that is exactly what I'm doing right here. The neck width here is 3 inches. Shoulder, chest line, bust point, under bust point, waist, and the back line. Then I'm marking my nipple to nipple measurement, or your bust span. I marked it from the bust point to the waistline. Then my dart is 1.5 inches for both. So I share this 0.75, 0.75 on each side. Now on the waistline, I'm taking my waist circumference, divide by 4. So I'm just trying to divide to get my actual waist circumference, divide by 4. So from the center front, I'm marking my waist circumference, divide by 4, and I'm going to connect it to the chest line. After that is done, I'm connecting to the back line. Next, I'm going to take the neckline at 6 inches. So here is my neckline at 6 inches. So you can go with any neckline of your choice. So I just want to make a little sweetheart to my own neckline. So I have to divide my shoulder into two and connect to the bust point. I'm sharing my over bust 0.75 0.75 to tighten the over bust. Next, I'm going to add the 1.5 inch of my dart. Please don't forget to replace your dart. Then I took the replacement of what I have at the over bust on the chest line and replaced my dart. Now we are going to contour the under bust. So your under bust measurement, divide by 4. Whatever you have left, put 0.25 in front and the rest at the side. Of course, you know how to contour your under bust, so use any method of your choice. After contouring the over bust, I have to connect the dart to the waistline. I'm also going to extend the dart to the basque line. So you can see how I extended it. So the part I'm shading right now, I'm going to cut it out, then extend my basque line to the replacement of my dart. I'm adding 2 inches for my bust dart. So whatever your difference is on the bust dart, just add it up there. That is what I did. That is my bust dart. Now I want to replace what I have on the dart. The over bust dart is 1.5 inches. So I have to replace it and connect it back to the armhole. But I want to make a little sweetheart to this. Like I said, I'm creating this dress on my own style. So if you want to make a V neckline, just go ahead and do that. Now I came in by 1.5 inches and I want to make the strap of this dress. So I came in by 1.5 inches. But meanwhile, I'll come down by, I'll bring my shoulder a little bit deeper. Sorry, my neckline a little bit deeper by 1 inch from 6 inches, making it 7 inches depth to create the sweetheart. So the 1.5 inches I came in is for the strap. So you can see how I connected the strap to that line. Okay. So, but I realized that this strap is not detachable. It's connected to the dress. So I have to take away the 1.5 inches dart and recreate to accommodate this strap. So I want you to watch the accommodation. So I'm creating my dart from the last dart right now at the center front. So I came in by 1.5 forward to the center front. Just watch what I'm doing right here. If you are confused, you will get it by looking at what I'm doing. So I'm recreating my dart, the over bust dart, forward instead of where it's supposed to be. You can see what I did. I just took it forward. So I'll be able to accommodate the strap together with the bustier because the bustier is not detachable. So I have to take off the replacement of that over bust on the armhole side. Now I'm cutting off my pattern. So just follow how I'm cutting it. You will get it right. So here I am cutting out the sweetheart neckline and I'm taking off the dart, the over bust dart, which we just recreated forward to the center front line like I earlier explained. Now I'll close my over bust dart right now. After closing the over bust dart, you can see that the strap is together with the bustier. So that is why I have to shift that over bust dart forward to accommodate the strap with the bustier. And I took off the replacement of the dart on the armhole. So this is our pattern right now and the pattern is very much ready. So you have to put the pattern together this way to be sure everything matches up. So I found out that there's a little adjustment to be made. So you can see me making the adjustment right here. So I'll just blend up the sweetheart neckline. Okay, so that is it. And this is F1, F2. Now we are going to move over to the back drafting. For the back drafting, we are just going to take the vertical measurements from the shoulder to the waistline only. There's no back line on the back. So this is the center back, and I'm going to take my shoulder divide by 2. The neckline remains 3 inches, and I came down by 1 inch for shoulder drop, connected back to the chest line, got the midpoint for my armhole, came in by 0.5 inches for the armhole for the back. Then the bust circumference divided by 4, you place it on the chest line and complete your armhole. Once that is done, you go over to the waistline. On the waistline, we are putting our waist circumference divided by 4, add 1 inch for that and 1 inch for zipper contour line and connect. I'm going to take half of what I have in all, and that will be where the dart will be. So I'm going to draw my dart leg 1 inch below the chest line, and now share my dart half inch on both sides. After that is done, we'll go over to mark the neck depth. The neck depth is still 6 inches, but it depends on how deep you want your back neckline to be. So I found the midpoint of my shoulder seam line, connected it back to the dart. But then I just thought of bringing back the sleeve or the strap for the front. Just match it and save yourself some stress on the neckline. So wherever the neckline stops for the front, I'm going to stop for the back too. So I just traced out the neckline. That is what I'm doing right there. So I came down a little bit and traced it out. In fact, I traced everything out accordingly. So when I traced it out, I noticed that the dart shifted a little bit in line with what I have in front. So I have to take the dart to the closest position and shared my dart again. Okay, so I shared my dart. I shifted it because of what I have in the front. So 1 inch is the contour line for the back. I have to take it off. Of course, I've replaced all of them. So this is B1, B2. The pattern is ready. Next is to cut what we have right here. So I just go ahead and cut. Now I want to make a little tightening for the back. So half inch is what I went in and made a little dart to tighten the back. So right here, you can see what I'm doing right here. So I went ahead to trim off the drafting for the back. I kept cutting it out, as you can see. So now we are cutting out the back contour line, the zipper contour line, and the dart as well. So the back piece is very much ready right now. So this dress is actually a sleeveless dress, and I'll be teaching you the tips and tricks to making nice sleeveless dress in this tutorial. So I decided to make up for what we have on the neckline because of the dart. We'll be having a shortage on the dart part if we don't do this. So watch what I'm doing right here. So on that line, I extended my line by 1 inch. The dart is actually 1.5, but I extended my line by 1 inch because I tightened the back. So I replaced that dart, okay? I replaced it with 1 inch because I already tightened the back by half an inch. So this is how I replaced the armhole. The shoulder remains the same. Please don't tamper with the shoulder, just to tighten this. Now I have to shift inwards a little bit. If you look at, I shifted my strap inwards where I'm cutting right now. You can see what I have. So next, I begin to add my seam allowances. So I made notch on the waistline for this dress, for the bustier part, and I'm going to start sewing my bustier. So make sure you make all your notches on the where necessary. This is the back. I cut both lining and fabric. I added 1.5 inch on the side of my dress, half inch in between them, as you can see. So next, I'm going to create my bust padding. So I took off my pattern. This is the method I like to use for my bust padding. So whatever method is good for you, please just go ahead and do that. Okay, so I labeled my bust padding. I took my radius all around to get my actual radius to pad my bust. So I did the same on the other side too. So from the bust point, I took my bust radius all around it like that, and I'm going to trim that off, cut it with my wadding, and use it to pad this dress. So this part is familiar for you. You can use any method you want. So this is what I got. I'm done. So I'll bring in my wadding right now, and I'm going to place the padding pattern. And now after cutting it out, I added 1/2 inch seam allowance. So I'm going to place the sticky part of the center front to the center front. Make sure it aligns with the under bust, the bust point, and all that. And I also did the same, as you can see. So next, we'll move over to the joining of this dress. So but before I join, after placing my wadding accordingly, I use my hairstay. I'm going to use my hairstay right now to wrap it up, to stick the wadding to the dress. I also hairstayed the dress before doing this. Now I'm going to pin the under bust together. From the waistline I stitched, and I'm also going to match up the back pieces, and I'm going to stitch at 1/2 inch. So right now I'll go over, this is my lining. I'm pinning everything. So once I get to the machine, I'll begin to stitch all the way. So after stitching, this is my wadding, this is my bustier for lining, and for fabric, I'm putting the neckline together because you want to sew the neckline. So this is how to sew this sleeveless dress perfectly. So you are going to first sew your neckline. Make sure you pin everywhere, at the corners, at the darts, and stitch at 1/2 inch. We'll also sew the sleeves too, but we'll go and stitch the neckline first. We also place right side to right side of lining and fabric for the back, and I'm going to stitch 1/2 inch. After stitching, you are going to make diagonal notches on the corners and make notches on the neckline accordingly. I'll flip all my seams to the part of the lining and top stitch and give it a good press. Now after top stitching, you are going to fold the dress back to sew the sleeve area. So this is my sleeve area. Don't forget to make notches as I'm making right here. So you have to make the notches if you actually want to turn this sleeve line very well. So after making the notches, we'll just go ahead and turn the sleeveless dress the other way. So you just turn it to the right way, and then we are going to also flip our seams on the lining and top stitch to the extent you can. So wherever you can, just top stitch. So this is the back. I also made diagonal notches, and I left 1 inch zipper space open on that neckline. I flipped up my seams to the lining and top stitch as well. So I'll also stitch the sleeve and turn just the way I did for the front. So after turning, next I'm going to top stitch on the lining too. So from the down part, I'll flip all my seams on the lining and top stitch. So the sleeve line is ready right now. So for this sleeve, you have to make sure that the sleeve width is equal, or else what we are doing here will not work. So you can see I'm inserting the front sleeve into the back sleeve. Just watch this part very carefully. Then you are going to turn it and make sure the front sleeve comes out from the back strap. Then when it comes, you align them together. Make sure you arrange them very well like this, secure with your pin, and then go over to the machine and stitch 1/2 inch. After stitching, then you draw it out. That is how to sew your sleeveless or join the sleeveless dress. Okay, so I'm also going to do the same for the other part. Now we are done. Next is to sew right side to right side of fabric and right side to right side for lining to have a perfect inseam finishing. So this is the shaping of your dress. So go ahead and take off the seam allowance. So after sewing, this is what I have. The dress is very much ready. So next is to go over to sewing the down part. But before that, you have to take the measurement of where you are going to attach the lining. So for the lining of this dress, we are using a quarter flay. So to cut a quarter flay, you are going to divide what you got from the measurement of the bags, divide by 1.57. So for me, I got 21 inches when I divided by 1.57, because this is a quarter flay. So I will begin to mark the 1.5, the 21 inches. So you can see how to cut a quarter flay. So you have to get to the corner of your fabric. The fabric here is 1 yard, 1.5 yards. So you spread your 1.5 yards open and mark 21 inches. Whatever you get from your measurement of your bags, divide by 1.57. So now I've finished marking. I want to take that measurement to be sure I got what I have on my basque correct. So that is exactly what I have on my basque. Now the length of this dress is 20. Remember from our initial calculation, the length of the lining is 20 inches. So I'll just go ahead and mark 20 inches. The lining is actually shorter than the front Mikado. So I'm using a doll face satin fabric for the lining. So it's very shorter. The Mikado is 30 and the lining is 20. So it has to be short to have this ball effect. So I'm going to cut out the radius, which we calculated with 1.5 inches, 1.7 inches for a quarter flay, and we'll also cut out the length accordingly. So after cutting the radius, I went to cut the 20 inches length of the lining. So here is my quarter flay, as you can see. So I put it together and we are going to get the midpoint. So but before that, you have to, the down part of this, we are going to sew the Mikado we cut initially. So we are going to pleat in the Mikado on the down part of it, the way you see. The 5 yards of Mikado we cut out at 30 inches length. We'll first of all get the midpoint. Before you pleat, make sure you get the midpoint of the Mikado fabric. So I went ahead to notch the midpoint and notch the midpoint of the quarter flay lining too. Now, after that is done, the next we are going to do is to pin them together before we move ahead to the pleating. So I'll secure with my pin right now at the center part. So when I'm pleating, I will know I'm pleating in everything accordingly. So these are my pleats on the down part. So I'm going to get the straight part of the Mikado and gather it. After gathering, we are going to sew it to the back part of the dress, while we sew this other part on the lining part of the main dress. So this is the dress and I'm pinning the center front to the back line. So we'll go over to gather this into the back area accordingly. So here on the machine, you can see me gathering it. So after I'm done, we are going to make a notch at the back line to relax the bust area. So this is it, and this is what I got at the end of the day. So the dress is very much ready. Now for the lining, I'll pull it over on the, I will notch the flay part, the quarter flay part, and match it to the back part of the lining and stitch. So after sewing, this is what I got. Next is to sew the zip area. So I'm putting the dress together the way you see me do. Match the waistline together to the other waistline of the main dress. Match the, we are going to take 9 inches downwards. That is for the zipper. I always like to go down 9 inches for my zip opening from the waistline. Secure with my pin. Then we'll continue to pin all the way down. So make sure you match at that point the lining joins the main fabric. Make sure you match them together too. The part we have our pleating, and I'll begin to sew 1/2 inch all the way. So just turn the whole dress, because the lining part will also leave the zipper space for the lining. So I will match the waistline of the lining, and I also measured 9 inches, which is the zipper space, then pin at that point, and I'm going to sew 1 inch all the way till I get to the Mikado part. So after sewing, we have our zipper space right now. The next is to sew the invisible zip. So I'm using an invisible zip. I'll just mark 1 inch on the main fabric. After sewing my zipper, I'm going to turn my lining to have a perfect inseam finishing. So I'll just turn the lining again by turning the whole dress together. So right now the whole dress is very much closed. So if you have to sew your zipper completely, you will not have a space to bring it out. So what I did was I stitched about 4 inches below the zip on both sides and left this space open to turn it to the right side. So I'm done sewing the lining to the zipper, and this is the space I left, which I'm using to turn the dress. So I'll just go ahead and turn everything inside from that space I left on the zipper part. So I'll just leave that space, and this is the space. So if you want, you can tack that space. If you want, you can leave it. So we are done with this dress, and I believe you learned a lot from this class. So this is how to sew a sleeveless balloon. So we are done with this tutorial. You can see the back area. So because of the back area, the center front of this gown will be longer. So you just pick the lining of that center front area. We are going to take away 2 inches. Remember is unfold, and we took away 4 inches. So as it is unfold right here, I'm measuring 2 inches because the backs from the waistline is 4 inches. So the 2 inches unfold will make it 4 inches. I'm going to top stitch on it the way I'm demonstrating right now. So after top stitching on it, this is what I got. So it's going to lift up that area. Okay, so the whole length will be the same. I think you learned something new in this class today. So that is how to sew this beautiful gown. Okay, so you can just create your style. You can follow exactly what you have on the original picture. Thank you for coming, and see you in the next one. Bye.